Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. It is a pleasure for me being here. This is the first time we are doing a webinar in English. We are hosting it from Spain, actually. Hello, everyone. You can say hello in the chat. And if you can write to us, where are you looking this webinar from? I will introduce myself super briefly because it's not about me today. I'm Silvia Silva from the community team in Spain, and I'm community builder. And today we're gonna have a presentation done by Wagon. They are our partners in crime and are gonna introduce themselves briefly. Today we will see an introduction to data analytics with Python. I hope everybody enjoys it. Thank you, everybody. Wow, we have people from all over Europe. This is super excited. And before we begin and before they introduce themselves, I just want to ask you to please write your questions in the questions section in the bottom of your screen. We'll answer them afterwards in order. And I'll leave you the mic to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Silvia, for the introduction. Welcome again, everyone. My name is Camila. I am from the Wagon team in Barcelona. So before starting with the session, I will just do a brief introduction for you to know a little bit more about us, and then we will start quickly with the workshop. So Wagon is a tech bootcamp. We train people in tech so they can start a new career or acquire specific tech skills. We have both on-campus and online courses, full-time and part-time formats, and our trainings are based in tech and AI. We have an international community of more than 29,000 graduates worldwide, and I think that's one of the best things about Wagon, the huge international community that we have all over the world. And we have campuses in more than 40 cities around the world. Here you can see all those red spots are the places where we have campuses, so basically all over the world. And about our vision, we really believe that everyone can make a career change and everyone can continuously thrive in their career. So that's why we help people to access new opportunities in the tech sector, either through reskilling, so launching a new career in tech, or upskilling, so expanding their existing skill sets. And about our bootcamps, we have 5 bootcamps. We have web development, data science and AI, data analytics, data engineering, and growth marketing. Here in our Barcelona campus, we have the first 3, so web dev, data science, and data analytics. But all of them, you can find it in the online format as well. And about our program for today, as Silvia said, this is the first workshop that we do together in English. We have done a few in Madrid and in Barcelona on site, but it's the first for the international community online, let's say. So we are going to have a workshop about data analytics with Python. And as Silvia said, you can use the chat section to write, to introduce yourselves, but please do your questions in the question section, so that way it will be easier for Renzo to answer everything. And I will give you access in a few minutes to Learn. Learn is our e-learning platform, and you will find there all the content of the session, so you can follow Renzo during the presentation, and also you can live with all the material to keep practicing on your own, because you will have the access for life. So let me introduce you to our teacher. We are here with Renzo. He is also a teacher for our data science and our data analytics bootcamps. He will introduce himself in a few seconds. But before starting, let me share with you the access to the content. So I will share this also in the chat. I recommend you to access now so you can have all the, here there is. You can find all the materials there, and it will be easier to follow the lecture with the teacher, and you can also keep the content for life. So maybe I can give you 3 minutes while you start register. If you have any trouble, let me know in the chat or in the question section. To enlarge the presentation. I don't know, Sylvia, if you know how to do this.
They can change the settings, like in the bar, in the bottom bar, change the display. They can have like picture-in-picture or full page.
Exactly. Yeah, you have a display button. So maybe you can write on the chat if you are okay with the onboarding, if you could access Learn, so we can start.
Martin and Thurston, did you manage to change the settings and enlarge the presentation?
Anyways, I will also share now. So, like, maybe with my sharing, it's gonna be fine. Who knows?
The space for it is the same, I guess. They say there's only full screen or leave. If you close the chat, maybe you can make it bigger. See? Yeah, no. And also remember, you can access all the discounts for Le Wagon in your resources on your profile on Malt. You can click on resources in the lateral bar menu, and then you clicking on the link for Le Wagon for each of you, then you can access the discounts if you want to register in any of the workshops.
Yeah, maybe we can share a link after the workshop, Sylvia, in the chat. Perfect. I see that some of you are joining. So I think we have 26 already in the platform. So I think all good. So Renzo, all yours. Enjoy the workshop and good luck.
Thank you, Cami. Thank you, everybody. Hello, good morning. My name is Renzo. I'm from the Le Wagon team in Barcelona. I'm based in Barcelona, but I'm from Colombia, actually. So today we're going to be doing a small introduction to data analysis with Python, but a bit of introduction about me so you know who is talking and not just a complete strange. As I said, my name is Renzo, as you can also read it in the label down below my video. I'm from Colombia. I came here to Barcelona, to Spain, like 7 years ago. I studied architecture in Colombia, and I was working as so for a year, more or less. But then I just didn't like it. I didn't like the industry. I didn't feel like it was something for me. So I decided to change careers, to switch careers. That's why I also did the bootcamp. I did the bootcamp in data science in 2023, 2 years ago. And since then, I have been working with Le Wagon and with freelancing, basically all these 2 years that since I finished the bootcamp. Okay, so this was just a bit about me. Let me share my screen so we can do this. Please let me know if you see it.
Yes, we are seeing your screen.
Perfect. And you still see my camera, right? Because I don't see myself now.
Yes, as well.
Nice. Okay, so we can start with the workshop. Today we're gonna be working, or we're gonna be in a bit of introduction to Python by using a real case scenario, which is Airbnb data that we found online. Okay, so the agenda for today will be basically the first step will be set up. I mean, how we're gonna be working today, and then we're gonna introduce the business case. Before going into the code, we will explain, or I will explain, some of the basic stuff that you need to know, not only in Python, but in every programming language that you have out there. Okay, after that, we will start doing the code. We will solve the business case together, and after we will have some time for Q&A for me. If you have like technical questions, etc. If you have questions regarding the bootcamp or any other this kind of stuff, you will have a person answering those questions. So no worries about it. I know people will ask if you can have the recording. This video is being recorded, so you will have it as soon as this finished. You will receive it in the email, so don't worry about it. I strongly suggest you to not be working at the same time as me. Pay attention to the lecture. It will be more profitable for you to understand the concepts and what we came here for. Okay, so let's just start with the workshop itself. And today we're gonna be working in Google Colab. Okay, Google Colab is basically a software from Google that is free, and it allows us to write code and to run the code and to view the outputs immediately in real time in the software. Okay, it's free. It's we can save the file in our computers, and then we can just use it in every other computer that we have. It's super simple. Okay, and that's why we're using it today, because it's super beginner friendly, and we want you to be able to also to work in your house with this same software. Okay, some other reason on why you should be working with Google Colab in your own projects or in your own work. It's because, as I mentioned, it's interactive document. It lets you write the code, run it, and share it in the web browser. Okay, you can integrate code and text, but also images and also charts and also visualizations, etc. It's very versatile in the way. It's cloud-based, meaning that everything is in the cloud, so you don't have to worry about saving the file or whatever. You can just access to it with no local setup in your computer, and you can access to your files anywhere where you have internet connection, of course. Okay, you have resource accessibility, which means that Google offers you some computational power. You right now maybe doesn't make sense what it means, but when you're working with neural networks or heavy machine learning models, you will know that, or you will notice that you need more power than what your computer can offer to you. So you maybe want to check the option of working with Google Colab, because Google will give you some resources for free at the beginning. Then you will have to pay, but at first it's free. Okay, real-time collaboration, because you can work with other people at the same time. It's just like a Google Docs or Google Slides. It's the same concept, and you can use Jupyter Notebooks files inside Colab. Okay, this is super important. This is just a few reasons on why you should be considering working with Colab, and it's very powerful. Okay, so the workshop today is gonna be flowing this way. So we're gonna try to understand the data, the context of the data. What do we have? What are we missing? What we can do with it? We will identify some key business questions from Airbnb itself. Okay, after that we import the data in Google Colab. We're gonna clean it. We're gonna check what do we have. We're gonna explore the data by using statistics. Everything is gonna be with code, so no worries. You don't need to have any strong foundation about statistics right now. Super simple. We're gonna be doing it with libraries in Python, so no worry about it. We're gonna filter our data and to be able to then visualize it with some charts and plots that we can create also super easily with libraries in Python. Okay, and then at the end we're gonna be putting everything together. We're gonna get some conclusions, etc. Okay, so let's go to the business case. Imagine that Airbnb, the company, they call us and they want us to analyze their data. They want to check what do they have to be able to understand or to get insights about the listings and the user behaviors. This is the purpose for today. This is why we have data from Airbnb today, Airbnb Paris. Okay, and then we're gonna be understanding why we're doing this, why we are doing the analysis. We will understand the Python and some of the libraries that we have available for us to use. Then we're gonna gain some proficiency in data exploration and practical experience by analyzing real case scenarios like the Airbnb, okay? As I mentioned before, we're gonna be using Python. I guess you already know this. We're gonna be using Google Colab and the Airbnb dataset that you also have available if you go to the Learn platform that Camila just gave you access to. Okay, if you have any question, let me just put the chat here. Yes, the slides will be available. No worries, the video will be available. Yeah. So if you have questions, remember to put them in the questions section so I can easily read it. Okay. So before going into the code, let's just explain or get a hint of some basic stuff that you need to know to understand what are we doing in the code later on. Okay, so we're gonna be using Python, as you already know. What is Python? Python is a programming language. It's the learning curve is very easy. It's beginner friendly, we can say that. If you compare with many other programming languages, Python is very, very easy to learn, but it's also super powerful. It's used everywhere. It's used from web development, which is not the most recommended one to do web development, but you can do that with Python, to machine learning, deep learning models, and automation, etc. So Python is very powerful, and that's basically the reason why we need to learn it, because it's powerful. You can do many, many stuff with it, and it opens the door for many opportunities out there in the market right now. Okay, how to learn Python? Of course, you have free resources in YouTube. You have free resources in Google if you look for it. Kaggle, many free videos and challenges and explanations. You have also some courses like Udemy. You have Coursera, etc. But also you have the option to enlist in a bootcamp like the Wagon and learn Python with the team. Of course, this is if you need more like somebody helping you out with your questions, like live assistance, then probably bootcamp is something that you should consider. Okay, some vocabulary before starting the code, because I will be talking about variables, I will be talking about strings, integers. So what is that? So in Python, to be able to read or the way Python reads our code, it's by using the data types. Okay, so with Python and many other programming languages, we have data types. We have numbers, which are, for example, integers like 42, but we also have floats like 3.14, which means floats are decimals, integers are just whole numbers. Okay, it could be anything, it could be negative, it could be zero, and these are all in floats and integers. Okay, we have strings that are basically a chain of characters. You see them that you can identify there's a string because they have quotation marks at the beginning and at the end of the string. It can be everything. Sorry, it could be anything. It could be a name. It could be a letter. It could be empty string. It could be just a blank space, etc. It could be anything that is surrounded by quotation marks. Okay, this is a string. Then we have booleans, which is basically true and false, 1 and 0. This is at the very deep level how the computers understand our code. And then we have some special values like undefined, null, not a number, etc. So this is just like a super brief explanation of which types do we have. We have many more, but at this moment, for you to not get crazy with this, just have in mind these ones. We're gonna be going through the Python code, and I will be mentioning some others, but so far with this is more than fine. Okay, so let's start exploring our data. Okay, this is the first step that you have to do when you get a new data. Okay, so you have some file, and then you need to make sense of this file. You need to make sense of what do you have, what the columns are, what are you missing, what you don't need, what do you need, etc. So in this Airbnb data that we have from Paris in the years 2010 to 2023, we have all these columns. We have every purple title here is a column that we have, okay? And then we have the description. This is something that you need to do every time that you receive a new file. Basically, you need to understand what do you have, okay? So here, for example, we have a column that is ID, that is the unique identifier of for every listing that we have in this dataset. Then we have the neighborhood where this listing is located, the latitude, the longitude, what type of room it's offered, what is the price, the number of reviews, when was the last review, etc., etc. So the point here is to make sense of what do we have. It's crucial. We need to do this, otherwise our analysis will be pointless or will not make sense either for us or for the people who is listening to the analysis, right? So the business case. Why are we here all together listening to me? Basically because Airbnb would like us to conduct a market study in Paris. That's why we have data from Paris only, okay? So remember that the data set that we have is from Airbnb, but in Paris only, and the years are 2010 to 2023, okay? And then for this, we will examine the pricing, we will identify some high-performing listings and hosts, and we will, at the end, do some seasonal demand analysis, okay? So now that we understood what are we gonna do, what is our data about, now we can just go and work in the Google Colab, okay? Remember that if you have questions, you can put them in the questions section, okay?
There is still one in the comment, sorry, but it's related to when you use like commas or the apostrophes. I don't know. Well, it was written by Mark. What is it when I use other quotation marks like the comma or the apostrophe?
It's called strings. There's a change of characters. So if we go here, when you have quotation marks surrounding something, this is a string. It could be empty like this one, but it could be also like blank space like this one. It could be a name, it could be a letter, etc. So it could be anything that is inside quotation marks. This is called a string, okay? Yeah, if you have questions, please in the question section so I can see them. Okay, so now let's go to the Google Colab, and this is how it looks. It's basically like a document. We have some cells that we can write stuff in it. It could be marked down text or it could be code, like this one, for example. Okay. The first thing that we need to do before working in Google Colab is to add the file into the Google Colab environment. Okay, so the way we're gonna be doing this is just by clicking here in files, and then we will wait until it connects. Then we upload to the session. We just add the data that we want to use. In this case, it's called data cleaned.csv. CSV, it means comma separated values because it looks like an Excel, more or less, but it's every column is separated by commas. Basically, it's super simple. Okay, once we have the data in the Google Colab environment, we can close this. And now what we need to do is basically import the libraries that we're gonna be using. What libraries are we gonna be using? Pandas. This, you will hear about it like a lot because it's super powerful, it's super useful. This is for data exploration and manipulation. Matplotlib for visualization, Seaborn for visualization, and Plotly for visualization also. Okay, so we have 3 libraries that are meant to be for visualization, and we have one, like Pandas, for data manipulation. Okay, preguntas. Which data file are we going to use? It's in the Learn platform. You have it there. What is the difference between CSV file and Excel file? The extension is different, but they're basically the same. You can use CSV files inside Excel. Let me. Okay, so CSV is just comma separated values, but you can work with them in Google spreadsheets, or you can go work with them in Excel, etc. The only thing that is changes is just the extension, because CSV is .csv, Excel it's like XLXSX or something like that. I forgot, but yeah, it's basically the same. Because we import the libraries that we're going to be using by pressing Shift Enter, like I did, or you can also come here in this button at the top left corner to run the cell. We call it run the cell.
Renzo, do you think we can zoom in, because I cannot read?
Yeah, of course. Let me just try this.
Yeah.
Like this is better?
Yes, I think it's better. I don't know if it's like I can't see it. But yeah, it's better, much better.
Okay, everybody can see it. Okay, so we imported the libraries that we're going to use. Remember, 1 for data manipulation and 3 more for data visualization. Okay, now the next step, or what's the important thing now, we're gonna put the data, we're gonna put it in our Google Colab environment now. Okay, so for that we create a variable. This is a variable, and you know it's a variable because it's before an equal sign. This means assignation. So we are assigning something to this variable df, and I name it df because it's data frame. Okay, it's a canonical way to name a data frame that you're importing into Python with Pandas. Okay, so what we do here is just we use the name of the file that we have. We run the cell, and if we check this is what we have. We have a whole data frame in our Google Colab that we can now manipulate and check. Okay.
Renzo, could you please repeat where to open the CSV file in the learning platform? Because I think people got lost in the process. And maybe everybody just focus on the steps that Renzo is explaining, because you're gonna receive the video of this presentation and everything. So yeah, but
Yeah,
if
exactly.
you can
Like
first go back and show again where in the learning platform.
I don't have the learn platform. Okay, let's do something now. I will let's do this later. At the end, I will show like where to find it. It's in the slides also. Don't try to copy to mimic the steps right now. Try to just to listen to, and then you will receive the video, and you will receive the slides, and you will receive the data and the links, everything in the Learn platform. So let's just continue. No worries about this. Just try to understand the steps that we're doing here, and then you will do it by yourself in the commodity of your house. Okay. So coming back, so we create a variable named df that we use in Pandas. Pandas, remember that is a library to manipulate data, and we're using a method. It's a function called read CSV. Okay. What we need to specify here is the path to the file name that we want to import, which is basically data cleanit.csv. Okay. Once we have this, if we check df, it's basically a data frame that contains all the information that we have available for us. We see that we have 74,000 rows and 14 columns. Okay. If we want to check it in a easier way, we can just check the first 5 rows by using .head. Okay. And it will display the first 5 rows. We can also display the first 10 if you add a number here, but by default it's just 5, and it's more or less enough every time that we try to import something. Okay, we can check also the number of rows and columns using .shape. I mean, this is something that we already did, but we can do it again. We can use df. Remember that df is the data frame. the variable that we just created before containing the data frame. And then dot shape is a method that it comes with this data frame. Okay, and this shape is what we already knew. It's 74,000 and rows and 14 columns. Okay, what type of data is this? It's called a tuple, and we can confirm it by just doing this. Okay, we're asking Python, what is this value here, to know what type of data we're dealing with. Okay, because every type of data has its own methods, and they will change depending on what we're doing. You say, I'm checking the chat. The libraries you say data collection and data manipulation, are they done the same data set? Data collection. Maybe I don't understand the question. The libraries that we're gonna be using is Pandas for data manipulation, and we're gonna use these three for visualization. The dataset is already provided. It's in a file called dataclean.csv, but we will go through this later. Okay. If we wanted to only show the number of rows, we can do this same thing, but we will add just this index. Why 0? Because we want to access to the number of rows, which is this first number. So this is how you access to a value in a tuple, by using the index. And 0 is the first element, because in Python we start counting the indexes from 0. This is super, super important. It's a conceptual, it's a concept that you have to grasp. In Python, we start counting the indexes with 0, not with 1. Okay, so that's why we use 0 to access this first value here. Okay, if we want to check like more general information about the data frame, we can use df.info. Remember that df is data frame. I'm gonna be very repetitive with this because I don't want you to get confused, but df is a variable that we created before to store the data frame. It's called df because I want it to be df, but it could be anything. But df is the canonical way to do that. Okay, and info is just a function that will bring us some information about the data frame that we're working with. Okay, so we have here all the columns that we have. We have 14 columns. You can see them here. We have what type of value does these columns contains, and how many non-null values, meaning that how many values do we actually have. For example, we know that we have 74,000 rows, but in this column here, reviews per month, we only have 56,000 values, meaning that we're missing almost 20,000 values. This is this is how you interpret this .info method, or the output of .info that we have here. Okay, another way to explore data, and this is by using statistics, is by using describe. Okay, if you do df.describe, then it will give you some statistical information about every numerical column that you have in your data frame. Okay, remember that we have integers, we have floats, and here integers and floats are numbers, integers being whole numbers, floats being decimals. Object is just the way that Pandas has to name the strings. Okay, or when your column contains more than one data type, then it will be an object. But this, we can think about it like as strings. Okay, we have many other data types like datetime, but right now we just came with this information. We will work with this later on. Okay, now that we know what do we have, what are we missing, and some statistical information, we can start with the data cleaning. Data cleaning is basically the most important, one of the most important parts of our work, because we have to make sure that everything is in the format that we want it to be, that we're not missing something that we need, or that we have everything to be able to work later on. Well, let me go to the questions again. Are there no doubles in Python? No, we don't have doubles. We have tuples only. Okay. So, let me drink some water. So we have this last review column that is basically when was the last review of the listing, okay? And we see that it's an object. We want this column to be a datetime format, okay? Why? Because then we can do some other operations with this column. How do we do this? We just say df, because this is the name of the data frame, and last review, because this is the name of the column that we want to change. We say equal, because we want to reassign it. We want to change it. We want to modify this column by using pd.to datetime. If you start typing and then you press tab, you will have the auto completion, so which is super useful. Okay, and now we say, what do we want to change to datetime? We want to change df.review. If we just press shift enter, it will run the cell. But what we want is, we want to look for the first and last date recorded in the data frame using max and min. Okay, check that this last review is something like this, but it was an object. Okay, so now we're changing it to a data frame, to a datetime type of value. Okay, so now that we have, so we can say newest data df last review, because this is the column that we're using. We say max, and then we can say all this data last review dot min. So now we have both newest data and all this data. We can just print it like this. Okay, now notice if we create a new cell above this one, we press by pressing A, and we say df.info. Now we see that the last review column is not an object anymore. It's a datetime 64 type of value. We know that, or we expected this because we did this line here. So we say to datetime, this column, and this is what we did. This is what happened. Okay, now we have the newest data and the oldest data that we have from a listing, right? What else can we do here? We can check for missing values. We can say df, we can ask is null, and then we say the sum. So we're summing the null values in our columns, in our data frame. Okay, so when we run the cell, we see that we're missing 7,000 values in price. We are missing 17,000 values in last review, 17,000 values in reviews per month, 30,000 values in host response time, and 17,000 values in review scores rating. Okay, this is important if we want to then perform all calculations on this column. What else can we do? We can just list the name of all the columns that we have by using df.columns. We have then what we knew before, because we did .info. Let's just do it again. We have this same information. We have the name of the columns, like the same way here, but now we have with info more information. So normally we don't do much this because we already have this information here. Okay, let me check why does it use the Neperian logarithm for IDs? I'm not sure if I understand the question. You mean this? This is just statistical information about the ID column, but this is not representative of the IDs. Actually, the IDs, they look like this, just plain numbers. Okay, maybe I didn't get the question, but I think that's supposed to clear. Okay, so now we have the name of the columns, and we have the type of the columns also. We have how many values do we have in the data frames, etc. What happens if we want to drop some columns? We can do it to delete, to drop. So we say columns to drop, and then we say latitude, longitude. These are the ones, because we don't need these two columns for this analysis. So we just say df.drop. This is a function from Pandas. This is nothing that you should worry about. I'm not inventing anything here. And then we say axis, because axis 1 means the columns, axis 0 means rows. So we're saying basically delete the columns that we specified here before in this axis, which means the columns, okay? And then we say in place true, which means basically make it real, okay? Like modify the real, or the original data frame, okay? If we run this cell, and if we open a new one here, let's just come back to info. We don't have 14 columns anymore, we have 12. Okay, you see that we start with 0 and we have 11 here, so we have 12 columns, and we had here 14. Why? Because we basically drop or delete these 2 columns here. You have more questions? No. Okay, fine. Now that we have our data frame clean and tidy to continue, we can just start to explore the data set. Okay, now we can start the analysis. We can do some super quick analysis to understand what do we have and how is the behavior of the users and the listings that we have. Okay, so we can say if how many types of accommodation do we have in the data set. So if we say room type counts, because we want to count the room types, we say df.room type, and then we say value counts. If we open this, then we have the distribution, or not the distribution, but the count of how many rooms do we have per type. So we have 64,000 entire homes, we have 8,000 private rooms, etc., etc. What if we want to get not the absolute values, but the percentage? Then we can just do this same thing, and then we add here in the value counts function this argument that is called normalized, and we have we can just print this. We can multiply it by 100, and now we have the proportion of room types that we have per type. Okay, so we have 87% of entire homes in Airbnb Paris in these dates that we have the data set from. Okay, if we check room type counts, we check the index, then we have the titles here. If we check the values, room, we will have also these same values here. It's just some ways to access to the values that we already have. Okay, so we have index and we have values from this variable that is here. Okay, remember that this is a variable that we're creating to know the proportion of room types for every of types for every room. Okay, now we can plot this. What we can do is, by using this variable that we have here, we can just say this code is already here because it's repetitive. We're basically creating a Canva that we can put something inside, and we are specifying what are going to be the X label and the Y label of the chart. I will explain this also with the chart, and the title of this chart, but this is very repetitive. Okay, so if we say room type plot, and then we say bar plot because we want to create a bar. So we say our X is going to be room type counts dot index, and then our Y is going to be our room dot values. Okay, if we run this cell, now we have a beautiful bar chart. Okay, this is the same as we saw here, but in a visual way, right? It's just a plot to understand better our proportions, let's say. So this, what I talked before, is the X label is this one here. We have the Y label, which is this one here. And then we have the title, which is this one here. This could get as complex as you want. You can create beautiful, beautiful charts by using this library. It's super simple, but you can add so many things that it will take like days and days to explain just this thing, okay? So you can play around with that in your own house also. it's fun to do sometimes. Okay, so now let's continue. Let's check the unique neighborhoods that we had. Neighborhoods. So we say df neighbor. We have a column neighborhood. Here we have, and then we have another function that is n-unique. If we check what is unique neighborhoods, this is a variable that we just create by selecting only the unique values of this column, basically. And what we want is we want to calculate those, how many listings do we have for each neighborhood. Okay, if we do that, the way we do that, it's basically we say listing count, because we want to count how many listings do we have for each neighborhood. And we say df neighborhood. We will count the values. If we do this, this is what we have. But this is our index here. We don't want it to be our index. So what we do is set index. And now we have our index being numeric. This is what it's useful. Okay, sometimes you will get that this neighborhood is a bit lower than the count, the other column, because this gets into the index, and we don't want that in most cases. So we have to resect the index by using this function here. Super easy. Okay, now what we do, it's basically columns. We want to rename the columns. We say neighborhoods, neighborhoods, and then we say listing count. If then we can just, because we want to sort it also, listings count is equal to listing counts, sort values, and then we say by what do we want to sort it. We say by listing count, and then we can specify that we want it to be ascending. Okay, listings count here. And now we have every neighborhood in Paris that we have information available from, and we have how many listings do we have for each one of these neighborhoods. Okay, maybe this would be more convenient in this case to have it in false. So we have from the most populated one in the data frame to the least populated one in the data frame. Okay, let me see if you have. If you don't use the in-place equal true function, you will be able to reverse the drop. It will not be saved, basically. It will not modify the original data frame. Then you will be able to reverse the drop, let's say, because it will not actually be stored anywhere. It's just for visually, it will change, but not really in the original one. Does that function change the data in the CSV file, or just within the DF? We're not modifying the CSV file yet. We're just modifying the DF that we create in this Google Colab instance. Okay, we will have to save the CSV or the final CSV to modify it, basically. You have spelled different the word neighborhood in the function Python. It does no matter. It matters. Where did I do that? Neighborhood. Okay, here. You're right. Thank you. Yeah, now we have it. Thank you for the catch. They didn't see it. Okay, so we're not modifying the CSV file. We're just modifying the data frame that we created here, basically. Okay, so now we have the list, or we have the count of every neighborhood in terms of how many listings do they have, each one of them. Okay, we have Bades Montmartre. I have no idea how to pronounce this, but we have 8,000 here. And then in Louvre, I also don't have idea how to pronounce that. We have 1,600, almost 700, 1,700, sorry. Okay, now what are the revenue and occupancy rates across different scopes? Can we identify pricing trends? How much does the average person pay to stay in Paris? We can check that super easy. We can say mean price because it's the average price that we pay for it. And then we say price, and then we have mean. If we check the mean price, then we have 221 euros by average. But this is a good way to approximate the average price? No, because we have different neighborhoods, right? So maybe one neighborhood is more expensive than the other. So how we would do that? We would basically group by the data, but neighborhood, and we will calculate the mean out of that. Okay, so we should be neighborhood prices, and then we say df.group by, we say neighborhood. If we do this, we will have a weird object. It's not weird, it's just an object that Pandas created, but we need to unpack it basically by using neighborhood. Okay, so we have to create this first. Now we have the average price for every neighborhood that we have in the data, in our data set. Okay, so for example, for this bourse, we have the average price for every listing here is 246, which is way higher than this. For example, this is 159 in average per night. What we want to do here is to have it like a better visualization is we will reset the index, and we will also sort the values. Sort values, have it in order of price. And then we say ascending equal false. If we do that, we have by order the most expensive to the cheapest one. Okay, so this is how easy we analyze our data. This is how we understand what we have. How do we find trends and patterns? It's this way. It's super simple. Of course, right now for you, it may not make sense, everything. This is basically syntax. This is something that you need practice to be comfortable with. It looks a bit sketchy, I know, because it is a lot of things, a lot of names, a lot of functions, variables, data types, etc. You don't have to worry too much about this right now. Just get the concept of what are we trying to do and know that we can do it with Python. Okay, and the formulas and the functions and everything, it will come with practice. Only with practice. There is no secret with that. Can we use LLMs like ChatGPT to do this? Yes, we can do that. But if you are in stage of learning, we don't recommend you to do that, because then you will not learn, which is the most important thing, right? Okay, so we have this data frame that's very nice, but we want to better visualize it. Okay, we want to visualize better this information, and the way we can do that is by plotting it. Okay, so if we do neighborhood prices, this word is so complicated for me. df.group by, and then we say neighborhoods, not group by, neighborhood. Then we say for prices, then we take the mean. I think this, okay, we then create a bar plot with this, where our X will be neighborhood prices, and our Y, sorry, this in values, and then neighborhood prices dot index here. If we plot this, then we have this amazing chart display basically the same information that we had before. Okay, then we have the average price per neighborhood. Okay, remember that this one is the most expensive neighborhood, as we can see in this chart, and probably this is the cheapest one that we have in our chart. So if we can check here, yeah, basically that LC and Melimondant. Let me check the chat problem. Could you explain again why do you use the mean reset index in this calculation? Mean is to take the average price that we're paying. I think you're talking about this one. We're trying to calculate the average price in this column, price, for every neighborhood. And then reset index, it's to bring the index, the numerical index back. Otherwise, we will have this neighborhood as an index. Then we will not be able to calculate or to do calculations using this one. Okay, so if we don't do that, we will have something like, let me just copy this again. If we do this and then say 2, no, just for you to see it. If we don't reset the index, we don't have any numerical index here. Okay, so this is important. That's why it's important to reset the index. And now we have it back here, just for that. But it depends. You will see some cases that you need the index to be like that, some cases that you need the index to be numerical, etc. And right now we need the index to be numerical, for example. Simple as that. Okay, so now we have this nice chart, and now what we want is we want to calculate the average price by room type, not by neighborhood, but by room type. So what we do is we say the average price by room type is equal to df group by, and then here by what do we want to group by is the room type, and then we want the price because we want to get the average price, and we will use the mean again, and we will reset the index again. This is very mechanical. Sometimes it's just knowing what to do, and basically it's the same. It's repetitive. We can call it that way. And we want to rename the columns too by room type here. Let's say the columns. We can say that the first column would be room type, and then average price. This is just to visualize it better, nothing more crazy than that. If we run this cell, and we have here that the hotel room, the average hotel room is 304 euros. Okay, and the average price of the shared room is 76. This is just for that. Okay, let me check this. Okay, perfect. Okay, now identifying high-performing listings. Which listings in the Airbnb portfolio perform the best in terms of occupancy rates, revenue generation, and guest satisfaction? Okay, so let's start by creating a new column, potential revenue, by using the availability column that we have already in the data frame. Potential revenue, yeah, say df availability. This is a column that we have already in the data frame, and then we multiply it by the price. So basically checking how much money every listing can make in a year. Okay, so if we press that, now if we revenue per host, we want to group by the host ID. We want to use the potential revenue that we just create, and then we want to sum and to sort values, probably. Okay, and then we want this to be ascending equal false. We want it to be from the highest to the lowest, and then of course we do reset index. I guess you're already taking the hint of this. Okay, and now if we check what is our new data frame, revenue per host dot head, we have that these are the hosts that can make the most money out of in our platform. Okay, so maybe we can just take care of them. Basically, this is a conclusion that you can get out of an analysis like this one. You can just take more care about this host, for example, to make them happiest. Okay, Now we can check the distribution of the listings per host. How many apartments does each host own? So we can say listings per host, and then we say df host ID value counts. Okay, and then we say top host listing per host dot head. Just take the first 10. In this case, let's just make it 10, and then we set reset index. If we check top host, we have the host that have the more apartments or listings in our data frame. So we see that this one has 628 listings, or listings in general. Why ascending false instead of descending true? We don't have I think we don't have descending. Let me just confirm that. Do we have? Let me just confirm that we have descending. No, we don't have descending argument. We just have ascending equal. We can set it as true or false. So it will be the same. Of course, it will be the same as descending, but that's why we don't have it, because ascending false, it will be descending equal true. So yeah, it's basically that. I guess, for example, for this column renaming, if you don't use the in place true, they won't also be saved in the DF, right? Here yes, because we are reassigning them. We are reassigning. You see that we are saying this data frame, its columns, make it this way. Okay, when we use the in place equal true, we didn't use the assignation. Let me show you. It was here. We didn't assign anything to the DF. We just wrote or typed the whole thing, but we didn't say DF equal. This is another option. Instead of in place true, we could have just say this, and it will be the same. Yeah, it's just two ways of doing the same exact thing. The output will be the same. Okay, but you have to choose one of them only, not the two of them. Okay, so now here we have or we know which are the hosts that have the more listings in our dataset. Now we can just create more stuff with this. So we can create a performance metric based on review score and number of views. If we say df.host performance, performance, and then we say df, we are using some columns that we have to create a new column that we don't have. Okay, so we're creating host performance by using .review as cost rating that we have. We have this column, and we also using number of reviews that we also have. Okay, we're multiplying both of them just to get a performance metric based on these two. Okay, if we press that, and now group by host and calculate average performance. We know now that when we're trying to calculate the average of something, we use the mean, the aggregated function mean. So we say host performance equal to df.group by, and then we say we want to group by host, because this is what the exercise or the analysis is leading us to. So we say host performance. This is the column that we just create here, as you can see, and we take the mean out of that. Now, if we just do the top host based on the host performance, and we take the first or the largest 10 values from here. If we check this, now we have for every or the best performance in every in our listings, in our data. Okay, so this one has this performance based on the reviews and what were those reviews, the number of reviews and what were those reviews, basically. So this is the best, let's say. This is the best host. Okay, we can also visualize that, super simple, by just using the same data frame that we created before, and we just plot the we say what do we want to specify as just kind bar, because we want a bar chart, and we have this beautiful bar chart here with the same information as we have here, but in a visual way, right? Because here is sometimes hard to understand or to read. Here is better. Okay? Here we know that this one is way better than the last one, for example. Okay, and we can also create a seasonal analysis. We can check how the seasonal demand impact the rental properties. Okay, so we first, because we are working with seasons, now we have to use the date column that we have from before. In this case, we have to create the month column with this one as the original one, let's say, or the base. We're taking this column and we are extracting the month out of it, and we're putting it here in this column df month. Okay, we want to aggregate this data. We have to say monthly data is equal to df group by month, and then we use an aggregate function, which is average price, and then we say price from price. We want to take the mean, basically, and then we listing counts. What do we want? We want the ID, and we want to count the ID because that's what we want to do, and then we reset index here. Again, you will receive the code, you will receive the video, the recording of this. You don't have to worry too much about understanding everything, all the code that I'm writing, because it's too much, I know, or we know, but just for you to see what things you can do with a few lines of code and with Python and Pandas, for example. So what we want is the monthly data. We want to create a line chart, basically, to see the evolution of the listings and its prices. And then we say monthly data, average price. Okay, and we can just add also some other arguments to make it even like nicer. So we say label is equal to average price. If we copy this and we paste it here, we can just create a second line in this same chart. So listings count, and then we say listings count here, for example. And then what we have here would be a super nice chart, 2 lines, 1 and 2. We have 2 different informations in the same chart. This is basically what we're doing. Okay, and we see that the average price of this list or each listing, it remained more or less constant, while the number of listings actually change depending on the month of the year. So this is why we did this plot here, to understand the seasonal demand analysis. So we see that in October and November, there was a peak on the number of listings that we had in the data frame. Okay, and then we have to understand why. Okay, this is the job that we need to do later, like why this happened. Okay, so let's just adjust the pricing based on the seasonality. We just do df.group by. We say here month by month, and we want to take the price only, mean, and then we reset index. And then if we check what is monthly price, we have this data frame for every month, how the price changed, basically. Okay, And now we can just also plot that by using Seaborn, which is a library for data visualization. We have been using it like also in the previous chart sometimes. We say here equals month. Our Y will be price, because this is a bar chart. We need two variables, and then we say the data is coming from monthly price. Okay, we already created that before. So this is how the average price changed depending on the month. So we see that January it's the highest, and February is the lowest price. Okay. What if we want to show only data from 2022? Sorry, we will filter the data. We say filter data is equal to df, and we create what we call a mask. So it is like a filter that we use. This is the syntax. And then we say here we extract the year, and we say this year has to be equal to 2022. Okay, and only these listings will be stored in this data frame that we're creating here. Filter data is a variable that contains a data frame just for the listings for the 2022 years. Okay, the data that we have in this specific year. What do we want to do here with this is basically we want to take the average price in this year. We say filter data, and then we group by the filter data, filtered data, last review. We say we want to change this to days, because we want the average daily price of for the year 2022 to period. DT filter data. I'm having an error here because it doesn't filter data. Dot group by, and then filter data. Okay, here, yeah, to period. Yes, now we have it. When the auto completion doesn't work, it's probably because you have an error in the code. So that's why I knew something was missing here. Okay, so if we say price, because we just want the mean or the average of the price per day, and we want to delete the values that doesn't exist, that we don't have. Drop NA deletes, or deletes the rows that don't contain anything. Okay. If we now we have this average price 2022 that we can use to plot something. We just say plot. Super simple. Remember that this is just repetitive code. This is to create a Canva where this plot will be contained, and this is to create a title, to create to make the chart beautiful, let's say, or to make a chart that talks by itself. This is super important. Okay, we have the X label, Y label, we create a grid, and then we just saying show the chart. And this is what we have. Okay, so this is basically we can see the peaks for every day. For example, here in mid-January, there's a peak in the price of the listings. Same as mid-February, March, April, almost in every month, we have a peak in the prices. So probably something is happening. Probably maybe it's a holiday, maybe it's something important that happened in that specific day that made the prices go way higher than normal. This is what we can interpret with this chart here. Okay, and we can even use another library to because here we use Pandas to plot this chart, but we can use another library that is called Plotly Express, that is also for interactive charts, and the code is basically the same. It's just I'm just gonna have this difference. So you see that now if I hover into the line, we see the information regarding this specific point in every day that we have information from. Okay, you can even like zoom in, you can come back to the chart, you can move around the information that you have. You can select an area that you want to to check by just doing like this. So it's very, very useful. If you want to create interactive charts, then use a library that is called Plotly Express. And it's super simple. This is just every line of this is more like a bonus for you to know that you can do these kind of things. But it's basically just creating the labels, the titles, the colors, etc. But it's at the end, this is the same code as we had here in this cell for this other chart. Okay, but the only difference is that we use another library, and this other library it's used for interactivity in our charts, basically. Okay, let me check. Are we restrained to use a function to pop up? I guess this is yes. No, we cannot create. I mean, we can create new functions, but yeah, normally when you try to use a library, you want to use the library that comes with the library, the functions that comes with the library. Okay, you're using Python for extracting data by parameters and also creating plots. But can you also create a matchmaking the data? Let's say which hosts have the same popularity review. Yes, we can. Yeah, we can create. We can analyze this also. Are we able to share those interactive charts into a presentation, for example, and make them work the same way? No, they will work in the Google Colab only. Here, I think you can even like I don't know if you no, you cannot download these charts. You can use them only in this Google Colab environment. If you want to create like interactive charts and everything to share and to show to other people, then we have other tools that we have, for example, Looker Studio that we also learned in the bootcamp to create dashboarding and presentations that other people can move around and play with the charts and visualizations. Okay. Yeah. So this was all for the live code. I hope it makes sense a bit. It's a lot of information. I know it's a lot of information. Probably doesn't make too much sense right now. It's a lot of code, it's a lot of names, variables, functions, libraries, etc. This is something, as I said before, this is something that you will gain with practice. There is no other secret. There's no other way to do that. But yeah, I mean, the important thing or the important takeout for you right now is to understand that you can do stuff with Python. It's super simple. This is, I know, maybe it look a bit crazy, but it's super, super simple. And it's super powerful also. Like you can do so much stuff with Python using Pandas or other libraries that you would just like, be surprised by the amount of things that you can, or the amount of time that you can save in every time that you work with data, basically. Okay, so so let's come back to the presentation now. So what do we have achieved with this code? We understood, or we tried to understood some basic stuff from Python and some libraries. We developed some skills in importing, cleaning, pre-processing data using the Python and its libraries. We gained some practical experience, of course, and the most important thing is that we understood, or we gained, or we could get some insights from the data. And that was the final purpose of of this task. I mean, Airbnb required us to create or to perform an analysis on the data that they have, so they could understand better the users' behavior and the listings that they have. Okay, this is everything that we did here today. Okay, so we also gained some insights from it. We checked the room type distribution. We checked what were the best performing hosts in the best performing neighborhoods. We checked the seasonal patterns. Maybe we saw some peaks, some valleys in the data, and we have to understand why this kind of things happens. This is something that we talk with the corresponding department, sales, marketing, something, that something maybe is happening in those months that is not performing the same way, or is underperforming, or maybe it's overperforming. Okay, this is everything that we did here today in just 1 hour of live code. So imagine what you can do with a few days of actually putting the job here in the Google Colab. Okay, so now it's time for a quick QA section. So let's see. Let me go through the chat. So what would you say that is the point of doing those charts in Python instead of doing directly in Power BI, Looker, Tableau, just to confirm the data cleaning? We do this in Python because it's faster. I mean, we have everything in Google Colab. We have so many things that we can do. We can clean the data, we can import the data, we can manipulate the data, we can also create these charts. This is more like for this is a playground, let's say. This is something that we use to understand the data. This is something that we use to know what do we have, what do we miss, and then when you clean everything and when you have everything very tidy and ready to actually do the presentation, then you move to Power BI, Looker Studio, Tableau, etc. But we first do like an exploration in Python, then we just move to the next step, which is the dashboarding and stuff, basically. Can you send us the link to the course available online and with all the tools, not just Python? You will receive everything through your email. Yeah, you will receive everything through your email right after the presentation, so no worries. Okay, any other questions regarding Python or what we did today? Yeah, you have access to these slides also, and you will have also further resources. And also, if you click, if you scan this QR code, then you will get into the information about the courses, the financial options, how do we do our things, etc. Can you clarify what unique in place is used? For unique in place, unique is to get unique values in every column that we have. We check it. I think it was. Let me just find it here. Unique. Yeah, here. So in this column, DF neighborhood, how many values, unique values do we have? We have 20, basically that. And in place is the way to tell Python, okay, modify the original data frame, basically that. As a product manager, I want to go into Data Analyst here. SQL is, I mean, it's used to talk. The data is a structured query language, and Python is a programming language. So they're related because we use both of them in the data industry, and they're super powerful and useful and required. So if you want to start analytics and data analytics, then you would start like actually in the bootcamp we start with Excel, Google sheets, and then we move to SQL, and then we do Python also. So you have the three of them in the bootcamp, and it's very convenient, let's say. In 2025, it's better to start directly to mastering in Google Colab than IDE. Like, it depends. It's Google Colab. It's about preferences basically. Some people use Jupyter Notebook, Jupyter Lab. You have Google Colab. You have Visual Studio. You have NeoBeam, Bing, etc. So the decision of using one or another tool is just preferences at the end, or what's your team using, so you can match with them also, and you work in the same environment. Let's say, yeah, this is no more than that. It's preferences. Okay. So again, if you scan this QR code, you have information about the bootcamps, about the what do we offer, etc. You also will receive these slides. You will also receive these links, the data, the Google Colab, the solution, more exercises if you want to work in your house, etc., etc. Okay. Do you have an example of use in Python in supply chain? Everything that you need to automate stuff or you need to analyze stuff, it's Python. I'm not an expert in supply chain, so I cannot think right now of something specific to this industry. But everything that requires automation or that you need to analyze or you need to understand insights or trends or patterns, you would use Python, or you can use Python for that. If you want to create a matchmaking platform with AI and no-code app, if for this specific case, probably you don't need to learn Python, but it's always nice to have the option, I think. If you're building a no-code app, then Python will not be very useful for you, but still, like if you learn any programming language, it will be useful for you to understand how the apps works and everything. Do you have a recommendation for interesting and real data sets to play around with? You have Kaggle. If you check Kaggle here, and then you go to datasets, and then you have thousands and thousands of available datasets that you can use to play around with. So you can use, for example, this Wikipedia structured content, and you just download the file here, and it will come here basically, and that's it. I mean, like this, you can use any other dataset that is available in Kaggle. Okay, let's answer maybe one more question, and we can call it for the day.
Well, if there is no any, if there are any other questions, I would like to thank you, Enzo, for joining us today, and everyone who joined this session and this webinar. I hope it was very helpful. As he mentioned, you will receive the videos and the links with all the resources. Please also don't forget to answer our survey in case there is something that we can done better, so we can improve for next time. And thanks everyone, and have a lovely day.
Thank you very much for everybody for listening. Okay.
Ciao, ciao, Enzo.
Ciao.